Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. This is Nathan Daley. Listen, thank you guys so much for your support, all my new subscribers. I really appreciate it, and I love the engagement in the comment section. You guys are really amazing. Listen, feel free to ask me anything. I'm an open book. I believe that this is the purpose of this channel, to be able to actually give you guys some insight into what goes on behind the scenes with law enforcement. Right? So listen, let me dive into it. This video, one of the subscribers reached out and wanted me to dive deeper into the William Roddie Bryant situation with the Ahmaud Arbery case. I believe William Bryan can make a very strong argument that he had no intentions of bringing harm to Ahmaud Arbery. He had no intentions of killing Ahmaud Arbery. Now, whether or not that's true or not, no one knows. Now, even though I think he can make a good argument, it doesn't mean that his argument will be accepted, right? Here's how the law works here in Georgia. William Bryan's situation is very unique. Why? Because one, he's not the shooter, right? He wasn't even nowhere near the incident when it took place with Ahmaud Arbery being shot. Now, did he participate, right? Was he hanging around them? You know, was he engaged in the altercation? Absolutely, 100%. But he wasn't the shooter. Now, he can lean really heavily on that. He say, listen, I was recording. My truck was about, 100 yards away. I was nowhere near this incident. Well, what is gonna mess him up? According to Georgia law, we have what we call party to a crime. And when you're a party to the crime, it basically means that you're a part of the party. The crime happened. I always tell young adults this when I'm mentoring them or when I'm talking to them about just things about law in general. You have to be careful with the company you keep. You have to be mindful of where you're going, who you're going with, the mindset, the maturity of the people that you hang around, because they can get involved in something and you can be present and be charged, right? Because at the end of the day, the law looks at it as you should have known better. I've worked plenty of cases where there are multiple defendants in a vehicle, and one of them decided they were gonna go rob the drug dealer, right? And the other two gentlemen are in the car. Well, the deal goes bad, everything goes wrong, and someone ends up getting killed, right? Even though there was one shooter, I've worked cases where all three have been charged with the murder or with the robbery, right? Party to a crime. When or if you are found guilty of party to a crime, it's just as equivalent as them saying you are guilty of the commission of the crime. So, meaning you don't necessarily have to be the one to pull the trigger. But I will tell you what things or what elements are needed for you to be guilty of party to a crime, and then also what elements are needed for you to have a strong defense against party to a crime. Now I'm gonna go ahead and read Georgia law 16-2-20. So I'm gonna put it up here as well so we can kind of follow along. What's interesting about Georgia law, or law in general, the legalese of it is very interesting when you're reading it. It's almost like reading the Bible, right? It's kind of, all right. OCGA 16-2-20. Now this is what it reads. Every person concerned in the commission of a crime is a party thereto and may be charged with and convicted of commission of a crime. Meaning, if you're part of the party, you're part of the crime. But okay, so what are the elements to party of a crime? I'm gonna read you these elements here. One, if that person directly commits the crime, right? So if you're a part of the group and you also participate in committing the actual crime itself, boom, you're there, right? Number two, subsection 2, intentionally causes some other person to commit the crime under such circumstances that the other person is not guilty of any crime, either in fact or because of legal incapacity. Number 3, intentionally aids or abets in the commission of the crime, or intentionally advises, encourages, hires, counsels, or procures another to commit the crime. So what does that mean? Especially with the procurer, you can, if you're giving instruction, if you are hyping someone up, encouraging them, if you hire some type of counsel, right? Like, hey, can you tell me how to kill this person? Hey, can you tell me how to rob this person? Or you procure, you actually get someone else to do the crime for you. This all constitutes as party to the crime. So one would ask, is William Bryan a party to the crime? What was his actual involvement, right? What did he actually do? This is why I said he has a good chance, he has a good argument, right? The problem with William Bryan, I'm gonna tell you what he did and his biggest mistake involving this. It's one thing if he was just following along and recording. That's a lie, he wasn't doing that. He actively engaged and participated in cutting off Ahmaud Arbery, blocking him with his vehicle. So listen, the prosecution is gonna look at that and say, listen, he was an active participant. He wasn't just out here filming, minding his own business, right? That is probably one of his greatest connections to this case, right? This is his level of exposure. He was physically engaging. He was close enough to Ahmaud Arbery on a few accounts to where he could have reached out and touched him, right? Now, one would argue that, yes, that is true, but he was nowhere near the incident when Ahmaud Arbery was shot. He had no intentions of shooting him. He didn't know that the McMichaels was gonna shoot him. And that is another strong point of his case that he can actually make. This is why I don't believe William Roddie Bryant will get the same amount of sentencing as the McMichaels. But will he be found guilty? Absolutely. What will he be found guilty of? Party to a crime. So after reading the elements of party to a crime, does William Roddie Bryant fit any of those categories? Or does he fit any of those elements? In my personal opinion, he does. He fits subsection 3, and I'm gonna tell you why. Subsection 3 intentionally aids or abets in the commission of the crime. Did he intentionally aid the commission of the crime? He absolutely did. He absolutely did. He aided in the commission of the crime. When I look at things like this, when I'm investigating cases, what am I really paying attention to? When identifying a person being a party to the crime, if we were to take this person out of the equation, what would have happened? There were a point in time during the chase where the McMichaels were not actually present, right? With Ahmaud Arbery, right? They lost sight of Ahmaud Arbery in a sense. But William Roddie Bryant was actually in active contact, following and chasing him, right? Eliminating a place of escape from Ahmaud Arbery. One could argue that if William Roddie Bryant wasn't present, then Ahmaud Arbery could have went in another direction. He could have avoided them altogether, right? When the McMichaels lost sight of Ahmaud Arbery, that could have been an opportunity for Ahmaud Arbery to actually get away, right? But again, we had two chasers. We had one on one end and one on the other end, and Ahmaud Arbery somewhat in the middle, kind of going back and forth, trying to evade both drivers. So one would easily say, if you were to take him out of the equation, William Roddie Bryant is removed, what impact would that have had on this incident, right? One could argue that with William Roddie Bryant's involvement, it helped facilitate Ahmaud Arbery being confined in this small area and not feeling that he had a way to escape, eliminating every avenue of escape in a sense, right? So that's how I look at it when I'm looking at a person party to the crime. Were they just spectators or were they active participants? And that is going to be the big argument in this trial with William Roddie Bryant. Was he a participant? Now, what are his defenses? He has some good defenses that he can work. If his attorney is good, if the evidence supports it, he can defend himself against this party to a crime. First, he has to be able to prove no criminal intent. That's always key with any crime, the intent. Where was the intent? Is there any criminal intent, right? Does he satisfy 4 of those elements to party of the crime? We did discuss 3, right? He was an active participant. He participated and assisted in the crime. But there's some wiggle room there. He can argue because of his distance. He had no intentions of that. He thought we're all on the same page. We're just gonna try to confine him until the police got here. I didn't know these guys were armed. I didn't think they were gonna do that. That's not why my involvement. So he has a little wiggle room. Just next, what's his other defense? The fact that he was present, right? If you're a party to the crime and you're present when the crime is being committed, doesn't necessarily mean you're a party to the crime. You have to be a participant. What could William Roddie Bryant say to his defense? He say, look, I was there, I was present, okay? I didn't do any of that. I knew we all agreed that we wanted to capture this guy, because in my mind, I'm thinking we're doing a citizen's arrest, right? These jokers pulled out guns and shot him. I don't know what part of the game plan that was, but that's not what the plan was. And I was nowhere near them to even encourage it, right? I wasn't inspiring them to do it. I didn't encourage them to do it. You see what I'm saying? So his distance when the altercation and the shooting took place is his strongest defense. The fact that he was nowhere near the shooting is his strongest defense, in my opinion. Because the whole idea is, though you were there, though you were present, you had a mutual understanding that you wanted to capture this person, but you have to be able to prove that we had a mutual understanding to actually shoot and kill him. And that is the caveat to that. That's one of his biggest defenses that he has. And if he has a good attorney, he might be able to pull that off. And so ultimately, to be completely honest with you guys, the way the law works is William Roddie Bryan could have even told the police that, hey, I'm not mad that he got shot, right? But I would never told him to do that. Because at the end of the day, part of the crime means that you've involved yourself in a certain way where you gave influence, you've hyped someone up, you've encouraged them to do it, or you actually physically did it yourself. You helped them in some form or fashion. What we can say is William Roddie Bryan, he participated, right? He ultimately participated, but he was not the shooter. But not being the shooter does not mean you cannot be charged with someone's murder. Hell, your friend you could be two criminals and your co-defendant dies in the commission of a crime and you're charged with their death. So if the prosecution does this well, and I don't know what other evidence they might have in this case, yeah, absolutely, William Roddie Bryan could be charged with Ahmaud Arbery's death, and they will use the code section party to a crime in order to link him in there. So do they have a strong prosecution for that? I would say 50-50, to be honest. It all depends on what other evidence they have that they are actually using. Unfortunately, the officers, I believe, did a poor investigation, their initial investigation on the scene. And so therefore, we don't even know whether or not William Roddie Bryan had a gun in his vehicle. If you play back the video with him recording, you hear him, in my opinion, heard a gun cock. I know what it sounds like when a round is chambered into a gun. The slide lock back, it sounded like he was racking around into the gun. Now, that could have been a strong piece of evidence that could have linked him. Why? Because it speaks to the intent. It speaks to the mindset. What is the mind going into this altercation? You're loading your gun for what? At that point in time, you're no longer an honest, innocent participant of filming and recording. You're looking to actually engage in the fray. Why? Because you've armed yourself. Why do you need to arm yourself? You had no intentions of using that weapon. Again, thank you guys so much. I'm loving the engagement in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. Do the laws, Georgia law, party to a crime, apply? Is he involved? Does he have any outs? Do you see where he can wiggle himself out of this situation? What are your thoughts in reference to that? I'm really curious to see what you guys are thinking. Also, if you haven't already and you're visiting for the first time, please subscribe. Would love to have you. My goal is to get to 1,000 because I can't wait to live stream. I want to be able to call you guys on. We can have like one-on-one discussions. I think it'll be very, very healthy and informative. So let me know what you guys think. Again, thank you for joining again. And until next time, God bless.